All right. Good morning, everybody. We are letting a few folks in and we will get started very shortly. I do want to just give everybody a second. So if you need a quick cup of coffee, I have mine, and we will get started. So this morning, we are joined by Hans. He is with accessiBe, one of our new friends. We'll call them friends, partners or friends. And he is going to talk to us a little bit about website accessibility today. So we're going to touch base on what web accessibility actually is, why it's important to businesses, what accessiBe is, and how accessiBe can actually help to protect your business and how it works with your website. If this is your first webinar you're joining us for, I am Madison Hooper. I'm a brand strategist and graphic designer at Rock Paper Scissors. Rock Paper Scissors is a branding and marketing firm. We work with our clients to help them align their message and brand with their internal teams, their communities, their audiences, so that they are speaking from one voice with vision and purpose. We have been in the design and branding space for over 30 years. We've seen a lot of change and have done a lot of changing ourselves. So we understand the need to keep up with the trends, best practices, especially when it comes to websites, as we're moving into a much more digital space. And I do want to remind all of you, this really is a conversation. So please, please, please feel free to use the chat feature in Zoom with any questions you have along the way. This is not a one-way presentation. We are recording this, so if you are viewing this after the fact, please feel free to post any of your questions in the YouTube chat or in the YouTube comment section, and we will respond to you accordingly. If you have questions after this, shoot us an email, and we are happy to support. All right, with that, I will get off of my intro soapbox. Hans, take it away.
Thank you, Madison. Hello, everyone. I know we have a few participants here now, and if you're watching this in the future, hello from the past. Hopefully all is well, and we've gotten over this hump we've been in for the past year and a half. What I do, just to segue into web accessibility, is I work with a company called accessiBe, where we automate the entire process of making your website accessible. Now, this is really important for a number of reasons. I'm really going to be focusing on two aspects of this. So first off, there is the law, which is the ADA, American with Disabilities Act. And this was written back in 1990, well before websites were as ubiquitous as they are today. Now, everyone has a website. And the wording in the law itself states in Title III that you can't discriminate in places of public accommodation. In 2018, the DOJ officially affirmed that websites are considered places of public accommodation, and therefore the law does apply. So you need to be accessible really to prevent lawsuits, which range anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000. And generally they stem from demand letters, which come first. So an attorney will go to the site, he'll run an audit, see that you're not compliant, and send you a letter stating, here are the facts, this is the law, let's settle. With accessiBe, this is really a preventive measure because we do make your website accessible. And we include a number of other tidbits there, which we'll get into later, on if that does happen, what we can do to help, and how we've helped others in the past. So we have over 130,000 clients' websites that we're protecting right now, everyone from mom and pop shops all the way up to enterprise level, Netflix, Miami State Attorney's Office, in fact. So quite a few. And everyone gets the same solution, okay? There's really only one that we offer. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. Now, the second reason I'm going to focus on the why it's important to become accessible is because it's 2021. Let's get with the program. When we're talking about inclusivity and equality, 20% of the US population is disabled, and those numbers are according to the CDC. So that's a huge portion of the population that can't necessarily access your website. I'll go into what that means because I'm sure to most of you, accessibility is a foreign word, and we'll go over all of that in just a little bit. But really, those are the two main reasons I'm going to be focusing on. Of course, it opens up your market share. You can have more users on your website. There's a business case for it as well, but we should really talk about the legal aspect as well as it's the right thing to do. So with that being said, I'm just going to share my screen here, and I'm going to move into a presentation which we have. So starting from the top, what does it mean to be accessible? So we have what are called the WCAG, which are the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And these were created by the W3C, which is the governing body of the internet. Now, there's multiple versions of the WCAG out there, and there are legislation across the globe surrounding the WCAG. What accessiBe does is bring you up to the latest version, which is the 2.1 at the AA level, and this is which either meets or exceeds all global standards. So you will be covered no matter where you are. Now, we spoke a little bit about this a moment ago, about the lawsuits, and unfortunately, it's been on a wild trajectory, really ever since the end of 2018, when the DOJ made that affirmation that websites must be compliant. Since the beginning of the pandemic, internet usage has increased by over 47%. So that means that there's more exposure, and you really do need to protect yourself. So that's what this slide is indicating. Now, there are a lot of providers in the space of accessibility, okay? If you Google it, you will find it. Why accessiBe really stands out is because we are the first and only fully automated solution that brings the site to full compliance in under 48 hours. And it's lightning quick. A key thing here is that it's fully automated. So there's no manual work that needs to be done. Now, we do, of course, have a vision. Well, taking a step back, we were developed over the course of 2 years, and we did this side by side with people with disabilities, as well as leading experts in the field of assistive technology, okay? Because it's not so much you're legally compliant, it needs to work, and that's really the angle that we're coming at it from. So here's just a little bit about us. We've been in business since 2018, and we've been through a number of rounds of funding. So we are picking up pace. And just like every company out there, we have a vision. Ours is very real, and it's starting to actualize. So we want to make the entire internet accessible by 2025, and we are well on our way to do that. And hopefully you'll join us for that journey. Now, here's just a little bit about our clients. And as I mentioned, it ranges in spectrum and scope. So everyone from mom and pop shops, pizza parlors, whether you're a physician, a nonprofit, all the way up to some of the names that you see on your screen. And again, everyone gets the same exact coverage. Now, part of the legal landscape is that you have to have what's called an accessibility statement. So this is a legal document that sits on your site, and it talks about some of the adjustments your site underwent in order to become compliant, and also who to contact in the event a user finds a discrepancy. So this is, of course, something that we provide, and we also do monthly compliance audits. So every month we audit the site, we send you the results, and this is really used as proof of ongoing maintenance, and it lets you know, you can rest assured that you are where you need to be. Included in this, going back to the legal side of things, is we have our litigation support package. So ultimately what that means is that if for any reason your site is called into question, we provide all the documentation plus more, whether it's expert witnesses, really everything you need to show and prove that you are in fact compliant. Of our 130,000 plus clients, not one of them has ever been successfully sued, and we intend to keep it that way. So there's that. And this is, of course, free of charge. Now, the way this works is really simple. It's simply a matter of inserting one line of JavaScript, it's copying and pasting, and that's it. That's when we have an interface, which I'll show you in a moment, pops up, immediately begins to work, where you can make some of the UI adjustments to the color and the font sizes, and really just some of the display items. And also, this is when our AI kicks in. So what this is doing is scanning the back end of your site so that 48 hours later, once it's completed, all the work is there. The alt tags on images, the ARIA attributes. Without getting too technical, it takes care of all the aspects needed. And then every 24 hours, we rescan so that if you've updated your site, we go ahead and remediate those changes as well. Now, there's two parts to our system. The first part is the front end, which is the accessibility interface. And this will allow you to make the UI adjustments. As we said, the design, really just everything needed to reformat the look and feel of the site. We also have the back end, which is powered by our algorithm, our AI. And this is where the real power lies. Because this means that if you have any image on your site, for example, you don't necessarily need to add an alternative text. We do recommend it, of course, best practices in place, but if it's not there, we will go ahead and add the alternative text. What alternative texts are really tools that it's a description of an image that a screen reader relies on in order to read out what the description of the image is. So that is a huge part of the legal component. Over 80% of the WCAG pertain to things around screen reader usability. So this is really important. Now, I want to share what this looks like in practicality. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a demo site where we can show you what this means. And we'll give it a second to load. And there we are. So if you noticed, this is the little icon, and this was the last thing to load on the page. And that's important because we do not affect load time or speed of your site. It loads asynchronously. So it prioritizes your site. And then the final thing that comes up is the little trigger button, which is of course customizable in any way you'd like. So what this is a site that is built to look like a regular e-commerce site. And there are a number of infractions, let's call them, here. And this site is not compliant. So let's go ahead and change that. For instance, if we're to scroll down, we can see that there's a moving GIF. And once the user activates the interface, here comes the pop-up. So right from the top, we have over 14 languages that we support. And these languages are for the alt tags, so the description of the images. So if you have a diverse audience, they can come in and actually change the description of the images. We're going to stick with English. And we also have a couple of these preloaded profiles. And what these are ways for the user to simply come in, toggle a radio dial. And as you can see, it stops all the moving images and kind of mutes the color to allow for a safe browsing experience. There are a number of other profiles here, and these were all put together after careful scrutiny and a number of user tests that we conducted with people with disabilities to ensure this is what they need and this is what works. But this is not all, because there are over 50 different adjustments that lie below and they can be used in any combination that you like. So for instance, if you were to come in, you can embolden the font, you can highlight the titles, the links, scale the content, really do anything you need in order to redesign the look and feel of the site to meet your needs. And that is what this tool is doing. It's empowering users to redesign the site as they see fit. So as you can tell, the site's looking a little different, shall we say, than it did when we first came in. And that's okay, because none of these changes are permanent. An example that I like to give is somebody who's colorblind. Because what is the solution for somebody who's colorblind? Which that's a rhetorical question, because there is no answer. Of course, there's recommendations, color contrasts, which are great. But at the end of the day, each person is unique, and so is their disability. So to give them the tools to, again, redesign it, it will help them tremendously, and it will ensure that they will be able to use your site. Now, you can see that it looks very different than it did when we first came in, but that's fine, because this is only a temporary change and it only took place on my display. We can go ahead, reset the settings, and everything is back to normal. This is really just the tip of the iceberg, because the real power lies in the AI. And I'll show you just 2 examples here. So if we were to scroll down and take a look at this image, we can see that it's just a JPEG file and there are no alternative texts. There are no descriptions. So if a blind user comes to the site, they won't understand what's taking place in this image. They won't know what this is. So we came up with a solution. Instead of having them look for this little icon and toggle the radio dial, we made it simple by recognizing any time a user has any kind of assistive technology that comes to the site, we give them an audio prompt and we ask them to press Alt-1. And the moment they do, you can see there's a check mark. It's now been activated. And we've applied the descriptions. So this extra sale, 30% off, shop now, this was the text that's embedded within the image. And we've applied this to the description. And woman folding clothes. Simple as that. And we've done this site-wide. So now the user understands what's actually taking place. But that's not all. If we were to go ahead, reset everything, I want to take a look at the stars. And this is important, because as you can see, we have the description, icon star full, icon star full. There's no context here. It doesn't mean anything. So again, the user would come in, we give them the audio prompt, and they press Alt-1. And here you go. So we've added all of the ARIA labels, okay? But more importantly, we've added a level of contextualized understanding. So now what will be read out to the user is that this is a rating system. This has a 4 out of a 5 rating. That way they don't have to sit through some monotonous prompts, doing math, trying to figure out what is icon star full, icon star full. Here they know, we go right to the source, 4 out of a 5. And the whole idea here is to give the user as close as possible an experience to somebody who's able-bodied. And that's what we're achieving. So these are part of the ARIA labels that we do. There's, of course, many, many more. But one more thing that I want to show you where we excel at is keyboard navigation. So keyboard navigation is something that is truly difficult to manage if you haven't built the site from the beginning with the correct tab order, with the correct backend work that needs to be done. I apologize. I know that's a very simplistic explanation, but this is for everyone. So bear with me. Now, there's a universal tab key for just tabbing through the site, right? It even has a phrase. So even if you don't label the site, the user can simply come in, begin tabbing, and there they go. They can now access every portion of the site all the way through to the drop downs and the pop-up. So what just happened? You have a pop-up. Traditionally, the keyboard will get stuck behind the pop-up, and that's called a keyboard trap. The user will just get frustrated, they can't navigate through, and they X out your site. What we did was actually lift the keyboard into focus so that the user can continue to navigate through with just the use of the keyboard. You can see we've also labeled the fields. Great, going all the way through. I've intentionally left some of the fields blank so that we can hit sign up, but it won't allow us to because there's a required field. And we bring you right back into focus of where you need to be. And there you have it. On a very basic level, this is what accessiBe is doing. It's allowing people with disabilities to come to your site, to navigate through, and to really have the experience that you want them to have, that they need to have, and also preventing lawsuits in the process. So this is accessiBe in a nutshell. We, of course, have all kinds of material, videos that you can go over on our website. I know that Rock, Paper, Scissors will also have some, and I'm really opening the floor to any questions you might have, and hope to be working with you.
Thank you very much for that overview. I do have one question. We have a lot of clients that we work with that are nonprofits. So I do want to ask the question about how this sort of can work and protect, especially in the case of clients who may be getting federal grant funding, just to remain compliant with that.
So, okay, Madison, that's a really, really important question, because right now, I don't know of any entity who has not received some form of assistance, in whether it's PPP money, grant money, whatever it might be. So there are a number of redundancies in the law. You have the ADA, all websites have to be compliant. Another statute is called Section 508. And Section 508 is any government site needs to be compliant, but it goes further than that. And there's a subcategory called Section 504. Section 504, I'm just going to highlight the most important parts. You can see that if your organization received federal funding or assistance, your website is required to be accessible. So this is a double whammy, if you will. You have the ADA, and you also, of course, have Section 508. And again, there are a number of other statutes depending on where you are. I can tell you that California, Florida, New York, they are three of the most litigious states in the entire union. And I believe it's 70% of all ADA compliance lawsuits are coming from those areas. So that is really important to note as well. Yes, if you're a nonprofit, please come and speak to us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That is a question that we sometimes will get asked. For those of you who are listening to this after the fact, and those of you who are on it now, if you have any other questions for us about accessiBe, about the current status of your website, well, I guess it's a great question. How do you know if your website is not accessible?
Great question. And accessiBe offers a testing tool. There are many ways to test a website's compatibility, whether or not it is accessible. At accessiBe, we have ACE, starting over here, which is a free testing tool that allows you to test the level of compliance of your website by simply plugging in the domain and hitting get results. It takes about 3 minutes. We'll send you a 20-page PDF. It's completely free, and it will tell you exactly what those infractions are. One more thing that I want to share with you is that we offer a 7-day trial to anybody free of charge. There's no credit card required. It's not like Netflix where if you don't cancel within 30 days, we'll start charging you. Nothing like that. You can simply visit accessiBe to learn more. And of course, on your website, Madison, there will be a lot more information. So I would suggest you head over there, and they'll be able to certainly help out.
Absolutely. So if you're curious, I would recommend that you go look at this tool. This is a tool that we have used even before we started working with you guys. It is a great tool, and it is a hefty PDF. If you need some reading material, I would recommend that. So if you are interested in adding this tool to your site, whether that's a free trial, whether you're totally sold and you know that you need it and you just want to protect your site, feel free to let us know. You can reach out to us via the contact form on our website. You can respond to any of the follow-up emails or original emails that we sent about this webinar. And for those of you who are website maintenance retainer clients, this is something that we can absolutely add to your plan and get done for you very quickly. This is something that we can help you guys. If adding your code of JavaScript sounds very foreign and complicated to you, we are happy to help, and we will very quickly add that JavaScript for you. I do want to say thank you so much, Hans, for joining us on our webinar today. We are still working on our plans for webinars for the rest of the year. So if you are interested in future webinars, make sure that you are subscribed to our newsletter, and we will send out remaining dates and times and webinar topics through that email. And with that, I hope you all have a great afternoon, a great weekend, and a great end to your September. Bye.
Thanks, Madison. Thanks, everyone.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.